How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Project Hail Mary. This movie was directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, written by Drew Goddard, and stars Ryan Gosling as this former middle school teacher who is on this space mission. But when he wakes up, he has no memory of who he is or why he's here. As the movie progresses, he remembers, and we see through flashback sequences how he got to this point and his role in all of this and how he eventually landed up on the ship. And this movie was written by Drew Goddard, who also did the screenplay for The Martian. And both movies are based off novels written by Andy Weir. Now, I haven't read Project Hail Mary, so I can't tell you about similarities and differences from book to movie, if they did it right, if changes were made that were done correctly. But went to this movie noticing that while you could get some Interstellar, The Martian, 2001: A Space Odyssey vibes, I also had the feeling this was going to be a unique, fresh take on that usual someone going to space, whether it's to find new life, to save Earth from an impending doom kind of scenario. Because I know some people will probably look at these trailers and be like, oh, this is just another Interstellar or another The Martian. But walking out of this movie, once again, a great science fiction movie with its own unique takes, with great visuals, but also great practical work. There is a great balance of visual and practical work in this movie. And I would not be surprised. We're still at the beginning of 2026. It's still just March. But I wouldn't be surprised if this movie stays in not just my top 10 movies of 2026, but probably top 5 movies, because this movie was incredible. I had such a great time with this movie. And I think this is a movie that everyone has to see in theaters. This movie was filmed for IMAX. This movie was made to be on the big screen with its grand storytelling, its grand visuals, its great practical effects, and its great stakes. One of the things, as I mentioned before, is the visuals that is so noticeable is there's no blue or green screen. There's a lot of VFX shots. Apparently there was, I think it was 2018 VFX shots. I might be wrong with that number. And the ship, apparently they built the exterior of the ship, they built the inside of the ship, interior, everything was built for the set, and it looks incredible. And it just shows you that this kind of filmmaking that doesn't rely heavily on green screen, that can do all this other stuff, is still alive, and it can still make for great movies. It's visually stunning. There were some great sequences in the movie. There was some great camera work. There's also puppet work in this movie. Ryan Gosling's character at some point in the movie befriends this five-legged rock-like alien that he nicknames Rocky, and it's puppet work, and it looks great. It's incredible to see, and people forget, particularly some of the younger viewers or younger movie watchers, that back then puppet work was used a lot, and it was excellent how it was utilized, and it is utilized fantastic in this movie. Which, by the way, I love the dynamic between Ryan Gosling's character and Rocky. It was just incredible seeing their friendship, seeing them bond, learning about one another, both having similarities in that they're the only crew members on their team to survive, and they both want to just save their planets. As far as Ryan Gosling goes, he plays this character that wakes up on the spaceship, has no idea who he is and why he's here, but we learn from flashbacks that he was a middle school teacher in science, gets recruited into this project. He learns what's going to happen, what's happening with the sun, what's happening with other stars, what other countries are aware of, who's going to be on this team, how he eventually gets on this team and into space. And Gosling's range as an actor is on full display in here, which also tells you how great this movie does with all these different tones that this movie has. There's some hilarious comedic moments, there's some very serious, intense, dramatic moments. And whenever that moment happens, whether it's a funny moment, whether it's a heartbreaking moment, whether it's an intense moment, Gosling pulls it up so well. This is Ryan Gosling's one of the best actors in the business. He has done a lot of great movies throughout the years. It's hard to believe a few years ago this guy was Ken in the Barbie movie, but he's also been fantastic in other movies like Blade Runner 2049, Drive. Once again, he's on full display, showing his great range as an actor. The flashback sequences, usually when a movie has a lot of flashback sequences, they can drag on, they can be very dull. And yeah, the flashback sequences, most of them, with the exception of a few, don't have a lot of action going on. It's really just a lot of talking. But you kind of expect the flashback sequences to be on Earth where the scenes are much more grounded, where he's interacting with other characters, whether it's his students at the beginning of the movie or the people on his team, people that recruit him. And it actually adds to the intrigue of this movie because it adds to the mystery and answers questions. For example, it answers who he is, what his profession was, what the situation is, the reason why anyone would be in space, the stakes if they can't succeed in this mission, as well as the sacrifice that comes with this mission. And these flashback sequences pull it off very well. There's not one flashback sequence, without spoiling the movie, that I can think of that felt like a waste that wasn't necessary. Every scene is necessary in this movie. And that's also incredible for a movie that's 2.5 hours long. And speaking of the runtime, it never feels its runtime. Usually, movies like this can be very long. And yeah, movies that this will be compared to, such as Interstellar, are very long. But like those movies, I mean, I don't feel this way about Interstellar. You don't feel the length of this movie. In fact, I would say this movie is paced a lot better than some of the other movies with similar premise. And then this, granted, yeah, it's not as long as Interstellar or 2001: A Space Odyssey, but you just feel like it's paced better. Maybe that's due to the fact that the movie has a much better blend of tones. It has some more enjoyable sequences and scenes, primarily with that camaraderie with Rocky. But yeah, I can't really think of one dull moment in this movie. There are a few moments where the movie feels like it pauses, but it's kind of a pause or a slowdown because something happened and you're trying to process what happened. At certain points of the movie, these two characters go out and save each other. One moment, Gosling saving Rocky. The other moment, Rocky's doing the same thing. Don't want to get into spoilers. Go see the movie in theaters. It is worth seeing in theaters, by the way. I don't know how much I can stress about that. But outside of those few moments where it feels like it needs to slow down for us to process, the movie's paced very well. And I know some people will say it does that Return of the King thing where it feels like the movie's going to end. And it does do that. But like Return of the King, where you think it's going to end and it keeps going, interesting stuff is still happening. Cool stuff is still happening. And overall, this movie is proof that visual work, as I said before, does not need green screen. Practical effects blended with that can still look phenomenal. Puppet work is still important in movies and can still look great even in the mid 2020s. I would love to see other movies, not just science fiction movies, but other kind of movies, do more puppet work in their movies. Put the effort into building these sets without green screen, like Phil Lord and Chris Miller did with this movie. And I know it's too soon to talk about the Oscars. The Oscars just wrapped up last weekend, but this movie, at the very least, should get some Oscar consideration. Definitely for its visuals and special effects work. Definitely for Best Picture. I know it's too early to say that, but this was an excellent movie. I can't really think of one thing wrong with this movie. Granted, maybe some people will find it goes on a bit too long. I didn't feel the length of the movie, but other people might feel its length. But regardless, this was an excellent movie. I do want to read the novel now. Again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I didn't read the book yet. I can't tell what the similarities and differences are from book and movie. I don't know what changed for the better, what changed for the worst. If you know, you can let me know in the comments down below. But try to do it without spoiling, because I do want to read the novel to understand it better. But yeah, overall, Project Hail Mary, Phil Lord and Chris Miller did an excellent job. And I feel like this is just a reminder that we might have missed out on something special with them doing Star Wars. I'm pretty sure they were supposed to do Solo, a Star Wars story, but I'm not going to get into that whole story. This is based off Project Hail Mary, but it's a shame. They can do excellent science fiction. That's all I can say. They showed it here. And overall, I'm going to give Project Hail Mary an A+. Go check it out, especially in theaters if you haven't seen it already. And what are your thoughts on Project Hail Mary? Have you seen it? Did you love it? Do you think it was overrated? What'd you think about it? And do you think it's so far the best movie of 2026? I personally think so. Let me know in the comments down below. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already. If you haven't, please share us with someone that wants to see Project Hail Mary, who loves science fiction. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.